The upsurge of rape cases in the country. So to set a tone for that conversation, let's take this background of our correspondent, Victor Azu.
Raped and killed right inside her church in Benin, it took the case of 22-year-old microbiology student Vera Waila Omozua to draw attention to a crime on the rise in Nigeria. The incident led to protests in parts of the country and drew condemnation from several institutions and individuals, including President Muhammadu Buhari, who promptly summoned the Inspector General of Police.
I will call on every Nigerian that has or comes across any victim of sexual offenses, of rape, or gender-based violence to quickly report to law enforcement agents, because keeping it without reporting it will give room for the perpetrators to continue to commit the offenses.
A closer look suggests that sexual violence is widespread in Nigeria. While data on the number of reported cases is limited, a national survey on violence against children in Nigeria conducted in 2014 found that 1 in 4 women had experienced sexual violence in childhood, with approximately 70% reporting more than one incident. Only 5% sought help, and only 3.5% received any services. After the Uwa case, Jigawa State has seen 11 men rape an 11-year-old girl. Another, a 13-year-old girl, was allegedly gang raped in Kaduna, while one 12-year-old was sexually assaulted in Otukpo, Benue State by a 42-year-old suspect said to be on the run. There have been several other cases with underage girls as victims. Although a global phenomenon, the appalling side to the menace in Nigeria, observers say, has to do with impunity of the perpetrators, lackluster response of justice administrators, and absence of institutional supportive system to help the victims. Perhaps more worrisome is the fact that large numbers of suspected rapists roam freely on the streets after committing the heinous act. Another sad aspect is that the victim is occasionally blamed, while little is done concerning the apparently weak laws. The big questions to ask are, why do men rape, and what other actions constitute rape aside forceful penile penetration? For U.S. novelist and feminist Marilyn French, all men are rapists, and that is all they are. They rape us with their eyes, their laws, and their codes. What do guests already seated in the studio have to say? All right, Victor Azode, giving us an insight into the weight of what we are to discuss this morning. Victor, thank you for that package. So let me quickly introduce our guests. First, we have here Dame Pauline Tarlin, Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs. I'd like to welcome you once again, Honorable Minister, to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning.
Also joining us here in the studio is, we would call him he for she, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Frank Mba. He's not my friend, though, let me just tell you. Force Public Relations Officer. Good morning, Frank.
Yeah, good morning, Claire. And good morning to our team and viewers out there.
All right. Also with us in the studios for the conversation this morning is a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria, Esther Uzoma, a legal practitioner and national coordinator of Proactive Gender Initiative. Ms. Uzoma, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. And our next guest is Tamara Ebewe. Now, she's a victim of sexual assault, and will be obliging us with her experience and what went on, particularly not very pleasant. Tamara, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning. Tamara, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Nice to be here too.
All right, Tamara, first of all, let me, of course, say Tamara is our sports correspondent, and she has taken the courage to tell her story. Tamara, in part of the story you told, it's been quite a while. So my first question to you will be, why did you decide to break the silence now?
Well, I decided to break the silence because it's been a burden over the years. It has affected my life as a person. I've nursed this grudge over the years, and it's making me psychologically imbalanced. So I had to get myself out of the situation, and I said to myself, the best way to go about this is to speak out. I've encountered people, friends, men who have admired me in one way or the other. They try to approach me for a relationship. Some even want to get married to me, but they just see this girl pulling back, and they keep asking, what is your problem, Tamara? I couldn't say anything. Not until I posted my story on Facebook, and immediately I started getting calls. So this is the reason you have been pulling back. So it wasn't an easy decision for me to take, because I considered my family, my career, my personality, and a lot of other things that I cannot mention at the moment. But of course, I had to take that bold step and ease my mind and free myself.
Just another question, Tamara. I know this will also be, somehow. Would you wish to share what happened to us, a bit of it, some of it, with us?
All right. It happened years back when I was 10 years old. I just gotten admission into secondary school, and I didn't come from a very wealthy background. So schools were on strike, and we needed to hawk some things to earn a living, at least to support my mom. So on that fateful day, I was hawking pastries which I had collected from an aunt that is into baking and all that. Then, trying to sell, this elderly man called me that he wanted to buy. The man is big, very big. He would be around 47, 48 if I'm not mistaken. So when he approached me, I went into his shop. I sold the first one. As I was leaving, he called again that he wanted to buy. I went inside the shop. As I speak, I can still remember the pieces he bought. He bought 3 donuts. And after selling the donut to him, the last thing I could remember, he dropped the donut on the table and he pushed me. Imagine a 10-year-old being pushed by somebody that is in his late 40s. As he pushed me, I was wearing a very flared skirt given to me by an aunt in the church, an adult. Just imagine, he just had his way. I was crying, screaming. Nobody could hear my voice. It was a very horrible experience. As I'm speaking now, I can still see the picture of myself that day. When he was done, I was crying. My skirt was stained. He offered me 50 naira that I shouldn't tell anybody. I rejected the money. I could barely stand. I could barely walk. What I was hawking, I left it there because I couldn't carry myself, let alone carrying what I was hawking. I managed myself and left the shop. As I was walking to my house, I could hear people say, who did this thing to this small girl? That was what people were saying, because you could see blood on my skirt. I got home, my neighbors who saw me, and my eldest sister, I told them because I've been this very outspoken child. From there, we went to the police station, reported my case. From there, we now went to the hospital. I was examined. The blood was there. His semen was there. The police went with me to his shop. What I was selling was there. All these were collected as evidences against this man. But unfortunately, the man wasn't there anymore. He had fled and left his sales boy there. So the police had to pick the sales boy in his place. 3 days later, he returned. Then the sales boy was released and he was kept in the police custody. Another trauma was the healing process. Imagine a 10-year-old with the bruises. I had to sit on hot water, the steam from hot water morning and night so I could heal. I was bedridden. I couldn't walk. In fact, it was a very terrible experience. As I'm talking now, I don't want to get emotional, but it is a very, very painful experience. More painful was when we were going to court. My church was very supportive. They supported us. We were going to court. And the man's brother came. I saw him. I was lying on the bed. He came, pleading for out-of-court settlement. I heard all the conversations, all the negotiations, how much they were going to bring. And at the end of the day, he came to our house with a Ghana must go back. I can still remember where my dad kept that money in the wardrobe. I saw it with my very own eyes. But they thought I was sleeping because I was still on drip on the bed. So at that point, I developed this strong hatred for my dad because I felt he wasn't there for me. I felt he sold my pride for money because there was no way that man would have gone to court with me and would have been set free. No, he would have gone for it. So that grudge has been there over the years. Nobody knew. I tried to get myself out of it. I hated men. In fact, I had to talk to counselors in my secondary school who advised me to start having male friends and all that. My mom had to pull me from my girls' school to a mixed school. That was where I started to pick my life back, being in the company of boys. I got into watching football, got into sports, got into the man's world, and that was how I was able to get some kind of happiness. And that was how everything about that issue died. There was nothing, no therapy, nothing. I just had to live my life, went through school until I got to where I am today.
Kingsley.
Tamara, I'm sure that our listeners, wherever they are in Nigeria and elsewhere around the world, will be touched by the story that you have just narrated. The other guests who are with us in the studios also feel the same way, and my colleague Claire and I are certainly touched by what you have indicated. Tamara, we're going to keep you on hold in the meantime. But let's bring in the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Her Excellency Dame Pauline Talent. Honorable Minister, I mean, listening to this story, it's this when we hear of rape incidents every day in different parts of the country, some of them by gangs and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't know how to pose this question. What's your reaction? Let's just begin with this general question, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. I'm sure every well-meaning Nigerians, not just mothers, cannot stand listening to this story. There are millions of Tamara out there. There are so many women and young girls dying in silence. But I thank God that Tamara has been able to break the silence. My heart bleeds where parents compromise. I want to appeal to parents. Parents must be true parents. We must stand by our children. The child needs to be protected. If we don't protect our children, we'll do that. This scar will live with her. I thank God her mother was able to pull her from a girls' school to a mixed school where she could at least mix and get out of it. But it's a difficult scar that can hardly be erased. This is not a problem that affects only the Ministry of Women Affairs. It's a societal problem. It's a security problem. All hands must be on deck. I appeal to the consciousness of all Nigerians. I appeal to everyone to please join hands with us. We're in the battlefield. It's a war that if we join hands together, particularly the police, all well-meaning Nigerians, if we join hands together, we can win this war. The community must carry this war and own it so that such beast, because for an elderly man, we have seen cases of 70, 80 something years. We've seen cases of elderly people raping 80 something years women, old women, in their rooms. We've seen people going into, apart from the churches we've had, into compounds. Barakat's case was in her father's compounds. Again, how come nobody in the house? What happened? Parents must be very, very alert to protect their children. Hawking. It's hawking that has led to this. Why should a small girl hawk? Why should children go about hawking? That is how we sell our children out.
Mr. Can you use your handkerchief?
We need to come out and join hands together. We need to feel, I'm happy. Tamara, my heart goes out there for you. And I'm sure so many millions of victims that are dying in silence, the healing process has started for her to come out and speak.
Okay, let me just pause the minister for a while. And by the way, Tamara is one of our accomplished sports presenters, like she said, doing a man's job, and she's very good at what she does, and all that. So, DCP Frank Mba, we've seen. I'm sorry, I'm also emotional. We've seen a lot of assaults on young girls, infants, 3 months, 6 months, 7 months. What is it about, this group of young girls that attracts, rapists?
Clay, I mean, I think there's no one of us in the studio this morning, and I don't think there's any man, woman of good conscience out there that have listened to Tamara that will not be emotional. I'm sure Kinsley and I are holding back tears just because we want to be men that we are. And the honest truth is, like the Honorable Minister said, there are so many other Tamaras out there. And I'll just share a very short story. In the early years of my career, in fact, my first, if not second year of starting out as a police officer, I was just fresh from the police academy. I was very idealistic. I wanted to change the world, and that's how it is with most professions. When we are coming out from the academy, we had that mission, okay, we're going to change how policing is done in this country. So I was working at Trinity Police Station. Trinity Police Station is in Olodi, Apapa. My DPO then is DIG Philomen Leha, retired. And then we were on duty one day, a young girl, about 10 or 11, between 10 and 12. She was hawking oranges. And then she came into the police station, and we all bought oranges from her. In fact, there is a senior police officer who, Kola Okunola, is still in service now. He bought a lot of these oranges and just shared to us, the younger officers. And then this young girl walked past. And then a few minutes later, I was standing right in front of the police station. There's a hotel opposite us called Cool Penny Hotels. I could visualize everything. And then I saw this girl walking past. This time around, she was carrying her tray. Her tray was almost empty. And then she was crying. And there was thick blood. Thick blood dripping down her thighs, almost to her toes, on both sides. And I screamed. And I called another female officer, much more younger, Yetunde. I remember all the story. Yetunde eventually works in the legal department now in Lagos State Police Command. And then they all rushed out. Other female officers rushed out. Young constables. I was an inspector. And then we beckoned on her. Reluctantly, she walked into the police station crying. And they said, "What happened to you?" And then she told us the story, how a young man asked him to come and sell oranges and lured her into an uncompleted building, told her that there were workers working for him and he should go and give them oranges on the second floor. And then she kept walking and walking and walking and got to like second or third floor of a building that was ongoing. But incidentally, there was nobody, no worker. And then that man met her there, paid for virtually all the oranges, and forcefully had his way. But the good thing was that this young girl was able to picture the man. So when we asked her, she gave a clear description of the man. Say he's tall, big, bulky, with hairs all over his chest. Gave a description of his haircut. So the ladies were now taking statement from her and trying to attend to her, making arrangements to convey her to hospital. Myself and a few others were so traumatized. We came out in front of the station and we were just talking. And right opposite the station, there's a young Igbo man, probably in his 40s. It was hot weather, so he had his shirts unbuttoned. And I could see hairs all over him. And then I went back and I told him, I'm seeing a man that fits the description. And he's just sitting right opposite our station in his shop. He was selling spare parts. And then everybody said, come on, this rookie, you guys can just be unnecessarily excited that he can be him. How can he be this man just sitting opposite us? And then I went back and told the DPO, Leha, and Ogale Hanan said they should invite the man. They invited the man reluctantly because he's a known face to all of us. And as he was coming in, the young girl sighted the man and practically fainted.
Hey!
And for us, that was a red flag. The young girl had also told us that this man was wearing a white pant, a white undies. So we quickly took the man to the inner office and stripped him. We stripped him, and lo and behold, he was wearing a white Hin's pant. Then there was this brand of pants for male called Hin's. I remember from that day onward, I stopped wearing Hin's. And there were blood stains in the pants. That was almost the beginning and end of the investigation. We stripped him, we collected the pants immediately, and then took the young woman to hospital. We worked so hard, tidy up this case, and like Tamara, when we were ready to prosecute, the parents came to the police station and said they were not ready for prosecution. They had reached an out-of-station and out-of-court settlement with this man. It was painful. It was, for most of us, and a lot of us that were involved in that investigation were very young, idealistic officers who thought we're going to change the world, change policing, change Lagos, and change Nigeria. And so that's how that case ended. Very painful. I remember the DPO then saying he will go on with the investigation, with the prosecution. He went ahead to order that that matter should be charged to court, but the matter never saw the light of the day. We were faced with uncooperative, hostile witnesses, and that was the man. Eventually, from the from the southeastern part of the country, eventually had to relocate his paper shop because his shop used to be directly opposite us, and he has to move away from Trinity to somewhere we never knew because the shame also was so much for him. But these are part of the dangers we face every day. And so when we talk about rape in this country, honestly, Claire, I am more concerned about the molestation of the children because when it comes to child molestations sexually, a lot of them they're even more underreported than that of adults, because that of adults, a lot of them could come out and talk. But when it comes to child molestation, a lot of the processes that led to the sexual molestation of those children are not even forceful. Some of them, they employ, they seduce them, they do enticement, they do entrapment, they do all kind of things. It is actually few of them. The real people that do child molestation, because there are two categories of persons that usually sexually molest children. There are those that we call situational child molesters. These situational child molesters are those that, by nature, they don't have any special preference for children, but opportunity, situational stress, and any kind of thing can make them to sexually molest the children. They can also sexually harass an adult or any other person. But the real danger are the preferential child molesters. These are people who their sexual orientation, their sexual appetite, their sexual imagery, everything around them is built around children. These are people who have developed the skills for going after children, getting them, and not just sexually molesting them, but also making sure that after they had engaged them sexually, they are able to maintain the secrecy so that they can continue for a very long time. These are the people that will tell the children, if you tell anybody, you will be blamed. Those are the ones that would threaten them that if you let anybody know, your mother will die or your loved ones will die. They are the ones that have mastered the act of keeping these children in that for a very long time. And in such cases, the only way for you to know is when there are probably accidental disclosure. The case that happened in Jigawa, for example, where a child was serially molested by several men. She was also a hawker. And it was an accidental disclosure because an adult of about 60 years was having carnal knowledge of her in an uncompleted building, and a passerby caught them. It was when they took her to the police station that she named about 12 other men. We had arrested, as at the last count, we had arrested 11 out of the 12. But, and so, it's an endemic problem out there, and it goes beyond policing and law enforcement.
All right, Discipline Frankenberg, thank you very much. We'll return to you. Esther Zomo. Yes, please. I mean, let's an open question. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, let's have your comments.
I stand with Tamara. You see, I am also Tamara. For every girl that the state has failed, for every child that is carrying a burden, today I am Tamara. You know, I'm that little girl that the state has failed to protect. I'm that little girl that the family has failed to protect. Today, I'm Tamara. And my healing also starts today. You see, we must actively interrogate the points of statehood. Perhaps if Tamara grew up in the wild, she would have acquired skills of protection. I'm telling you. Do you now see why somewhere in the north they'll say, this little girl murdered her husband? But Tamara was given a sense of false security. The state has that responsibility, particularly to protect the vulnerable. That is how we measure our statehood and civilization. How do we treat the vulnerable? It's not about the strong, the vulnerable, the child who lacks consent. That child who everybody is uncle. Everybody is uncle. Bring donuts. Bring it to my shop. How if the state is not capable? Because I have to blame it on the state. The state should be so strong as to compel behavior even from Tamara's caregivers. Who is the father to collect money? Was the father raped? Was he damaged? Look at what it took. After how many years? 20 years. She's still asking for healing. No relationship because something is happening inside her. So we must interrogate and strengthen the processes. The female is a very delicate part of our creation because of, the procreation of the species lies on her. And so you have one heavy, angry female. And you wonder why, women are killing their husbands. Something happened somewhere. This woman is irritable. Something happened somewhere. We don't even have systems that call a child, say, why are you behaving like this? Let's not even go to the social welfare system that is non-existent. That makes an individual say, why are you behaving like this? No, it's not happening. And so we have a ceremony of fathers sleeping with their daughters, siblings making their siblings, pregnant, uncle defiling Tamara. Today, right here, I am also Tamara because every pain she feels, I'm also hurting. This is our shared humanity.
Let me just also ask Esther, because we've also seen an escalation of, like you said, fathers, molesting their daughters, uncles, and all that. Biological, what is the psyche? It never used to be this bad. Yes, we have, like DCP Frank said, whether preferential or situational. What about fathers and their daughters?
You see, trust is overrated, Claire. Trust, yeah? It's overrated. Everything has changed. But above all, the system is not quick to punish offenders. The system is not quick. Somebody will always look at the story narrated by somebody will always say, I'm not coming. But we must build and enrich our criminal jurisprudence to the extent that, listen, whether you are a hostile witness or you must testify. Look at the high rate of migration in this country. What do people do? They commit crimes here and simply go to another place and assume another identity.
Are mothers not also liable, in all of this?
Yes, to a great extent, because you see mothers who will not want to talk about the elephant in the living room, who want to stay married. Oh, don't. Mothers, the ones who incubate these babies, the ones who bring them forth through blood and near death. But the hypocrisy, enormous hypocrisy in the society will not allow them to save their offspring that they went through so much pain to bring forth. They would rather remain married. Ah, madam, how are you? They would rather have babies who are time bombs that are sticking, waiting to explode. That is the conspiracy of parenthood. Of course, the man who is molesting his child, imagine what he's doing to other people's children. But above all, this our criminal justice system must be rejigged. It's not about I don't want to give evidence, I want to kill this. They have to be dragged to the court. Otherwise, the proof of our civility is that people are compelled to obey the law. Ordinary people will not obey the law. But we must bring people under subjection. If we don't compel people to obey the law, then forget it. We're not a civilized society. I might as well carry arms.
All right, Esther Uzoma, thank you very much. Let's bring in again the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Tallen. I don't know, what can be done and what should be done?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. The situation is getting out of hand, but thank God. For the first time, we have seen political will. Mr. President has shown so much commitment on this matter because he's a true father. He has spoken. You remember at the wake of Vera Weller's case, I ran to him and he made a statement immediately. He condemned it. The governor condemned it. The governor's forum called a Zoom meeting and invited me. I addressed them and cried out to them. They all showed commitment. And all the governors have declared state of emergency in their states. The wife of the president has condemned it. She's leading an army of all first ladies. The 36 wives of governors are committed. The president invited and gave a marching order to the Inspector General of Police. You saw the clip just before this program started. After his meeting with the president, I was invited with the Minister of Information and we jointly addressed the press. There is total commitment at the highest level this time around. The Senate President has shown commitment. He made an open statement when this matter was brought to the floor of the House that he's advocating for stricter measures, punishment for rapists. The Speaker, House of Assembly, has shown the same commitment, and in fact, my best member in the House, Honorable Dogwa from Jigawa, you heard what he said, and all the members condemn it. It has reached a stage that even the men are advocating for incarceration. This is to tell you the alarming rate of rape in the country. For every one reported case, there are 10 or 20 that are not reported. We cannot continue like this. You've heard the story of Tamara. How can we allow such parents to live in our society? Tamara may not be the only daughter in the home. If he, because of poverty, he has collected money and sold out his daughter's right.
Let me ask you, sorry, you said there is a political will now.
Yes.
Shown at different levels of government.
Yes.
Are there actionable, plans to demonstrate this political will?
Very well. Very well. Last Wednesday, the day I presented a memo in the Federal Executive Council, it was unanimously endorsed. The following day, Mr. President, there and then he approved and directed the Inspector General of Police to take appropriate action and ensure every reported case is properly investigated and prosecuted. We also demand for quick enforcement of the laws. The laws are there. It's not that we don't have the laws. The VAP law is clear. The Child's Right Act is clear. But our problem is lack of domestication of these laws in most of our states. Only 13 states have the VAP law domesticated. In fact, I will strongly commend Lagos and Ekiti. They domesticated theirs even before the federal government displayed or announced the sex offenders register that was displayed last year. During the 16 days activism, I launched it, and the President is fully committed to the enforcement. Mr. President has also directed the Attorney General to put an interministerial committee, because it's not just Ministry of Women Affairs. All hands must be on deck. Health is involved, police affairs is involved, information, because we must launch an aggressive campaign. Advocacy, and that is already in progress. We're working closely with your Honorable Minister, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, is seriously committed to this matter. And we're working day in, day out with him to launch a national advocacy campaign where we sensitize Nigerians and get to the grassroots, community level, where the community will own it and deal with rapists. Government is committed to ensure prompt enforcement. Mr. President has given a marching order to the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police. My ministry, we will not rest. We will continue to cry out. We will continue to work with civil society organizations until we get to zero tolerance of rape.
Okay.
This cannot continue. Day in, day out, the rate of fathers defiling their daughters is on the increase. Daily basis, there is no day I don't receive such reports. Yesterday morning, this time, I received a call. Here in Idu, in Jiwa,
In the
federal capital. Idu, God bless the district head. He calls my dear sister, Saudatu Madi, who is working very well under RAPA, to come. But this is another case they have. She ran to Idu, and the case, the criminal is a father. The mother caught him defiling her daughter, a 14-year-old girl. The woman cried out and ran to the court seeking divorce. It's not just seeking divorce, he must be prosecuted. Outright prosecution of the highest level. We will follow this case, and any case that comes to hand, thank God, the police are fully committed. Frank is here with us. We will follow on daily basis. I commend and I salute our governors that are committed. You've heard what my dear brother, the governor of Kaduna, said. He said he will not sleep and he will not live with a rapist in his state. And he's advocating for death sentence. We're not talking about only death sentence, but they must have the highest punishment. Let them be tortured to the point that it will serve as a deterrent. If we don't rise up to this, we will have no future. You can imagine the pain. Tamara is mentally destroyed. Millions of her, Tamara, are there. Millions of women that are hurting and are dying in silence. We cannot live with animals in our homes.
That's right. Honorable Minister and the other guests, thank you very much. I was just wondering, if this is an epidemic that we are faced with, and it would appear to be the case that there are probably more unreported cases than are reported. And the cases that you can prosecute are those that are reported. Now, might it not help for us to have a better understanding into why this epidemic is the way it is now? I'm just wondering, DCP Frank Umba, what could be driving all of this? I mean, let's not just blame COVID-19, because I recall that in your scenario sketching, as the country was getting into lockdown at the end of March, you were on Good Morning Nigeria, and you did say that, look, we are likely to see a spike in domestic violence, sexual offenses, and so on and so forth. But it would appear that we just have, some madmen who are on the rampage against women. So, but what explains this beyond COVID-19?
Okay, Kinsley, there are so many factors. And honestly, even for us as investigators and as members of the law enforcement community, there are also some incidents that we handle and we can't even fathom out any logical explanation. But beyond COVID-19 and beyond lustful desires, because some rape and some sexual offenses are actually driven entirely by lust. And that is what happens in most situational offenses, those opportunistic offenses, where somebody, particularly in face me, I face you kind of situation, maybe has been lusting about a woman, and then just get an opportunity, access, privacy, and pam, they will strike. But beyond lust, there are so many rape cases that are not tied to lust. They are not even tied to real innate sexual desires. They are tied to the quest for power, domination, control, revenge, anger, and pure sadism. These are the kind of cases that you find that at the end of the day, they don't care whether their victim dies or whether their victim survives. In fact, those are the kind of situations where outrightly they conduct themselves so violently that they even actually want you to die. Because when they kill you or they commit the murder in the process of the rape, they had actually exhibited that ultimate power of control, of revenge, of sadism. And of course, people have talked about the overwhelming influence of pornography. But it is neither here nor there. Because, yes, I agree that today, pornographic videos are just available to everybody. And this again are where our parents must play roles. There are some families, as rich as they are, they will restrict access. They will restrict children's access to certain channels on TV. They will restrict their access to phone and to internet, except for educational use, and they will control the sites you visit. And even when they hand in a phone to you, they would demobilize a lot of the apps on the phone until you get to a certain age. But today we find children in primary school, in junior secondary school, having so much access to pornography. And so we are dealing with a whole lot of things. We're also dealing with the consequential impacts of poverty. And this is again where our government must also, whether at the local government level or at the state government level, also try to rise up to the challenges. And that's where the Child Rights Act also comes into play. We must review the issue of hawking by our girl child. I actually probably will be throwing this back to the Honorable Minister. I know that she has got the wherewithal, she has got the capacity, she has got the network, she got the platform to push for a total ban on hawking by our girl child. Because these are platforms that provide the socially, the perverts, the delinquents in our midst, easy opportunity to actually prey on our girl child.
Okay, Frank. Please, round up your thought, Frank, please.
And so for me, we have to deal with all this. Have a second look at our socialization processes, the role that those recognized agents of socialization, our family, our faith leaders, our schools, and the rest of us. What roles are we playing? Because for us to win this battle, for me, it is not a game, a blame game. We must just get out of the blame game and then situate ourselves as all warriors and push forward. If we all work together, the media, the civil society, the law enforcement agents, our governmental agencies, we will make appreciable progress.
All right, DCP, thank you. We would also be asking you when we come back from this break, because there's a presidential charge, to the office of the IGP on this. So we will, hear from you perhaps if there are, plans, framework of actionable framework so far. This is Good Morning Nigeria. Let's take a short break now. All right, welcome back to the program. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, a very emotional episode at that, and we appreciate all our guests, especially Tamara. She's also here with us. We'll be posing some questions to her later on. But let me again go to DCP Frank Mba. Frank, you heard the Honorable Commissioner for Women Affairs, talk to us about, Minister, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. It does happen. So sorry, Honorable Minister. I'm sorry. So, are there actionable plans now to effect the presidential charge on the office of the IGP?
Very, very clearly, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Abubakar Adamu himself, is actually a very passionate father. He is directly involved in the entire policing processes that we are putting in place to actually deal with this hydra-headed problem. First of all, the good thing again is that in the build-up to the lockdown, we had actually sat down, conducted our studies, and predicted that there could be a rise in sexual offenses. But in all honesty, we never really thought it was going to get that bad. But we actually did a situational analysis and made this projection. And so soon after that, the first thing the IG did was to order the strengthening of our gender desk. We have a gender desk, a very robust one, headed by a female deputy commissioner of police. And the good thing about the police officers who are manning the gender desk is that beyond the training they got at the police colleges or at the police academies or the detective trainings that they have undergone, they have also received specialized trainings on how to investigate rape cases and gender-based violence.
What more directive?
We are also going beyond that. Today, we are also beginning to adopt even non-core law enforcement approaches. For example, the police have established what we call the Police Rape Victims Foundation Desk, which is headed by a police doctor, a chief superintendent of police, Dr. Nonyewela. The Rape Foundation desk of the police is providing emotional and psychological support to rape victims. And also, because it's domiciled within the police medical services, they are also supporting investigation and supporting the collation and preservation of forensic evidences that are important in securing conviction for rape. We've also partnered with UNICEF to build a facility support for rape victims. So in the Federal Capital Territory today, in Maitama district specifically, we have a building where children that have been exposed to sexual violence can actually be temporarily sheltered. We were not doing that before because these are some of the services that we left out to civil society groups, to non-governmental organizations, and probably to some other government ministries. But because we are now beginning to see the damaging effect, and we have seen that just call law enforcement approaches alone will not solve the problem. We need to go beyond call law enforcement approaches. We need to expand our approaches beyond investigation, beyond arrest, beyond prosecution, to also engaging the victims and trying to give them succor, support, and also helping to rehabilitate them. So, Claire, the honest truth is we are also expanding our collaboration and partnership. We are working very closely with NAPTIP. I'm sure you must have seen the Inspector General of Police having a joint media outing with the DG NAPTIP as well as the ES of the National Human Rights Commission. So we are opening our doors wider. We'll be working with the Ministry of Women Affairs. We'll be working with civil society groups, and we're working with UNICEF and other international agencies.
Just before Kingsley comes in, Kingsley, excuse me. I know there are requirements. There are things you ask from, rape victims as evidence and all that. Are you holding on strictly to those requirements, or are you relaxing a few to make for easy presentation of, evidence from victims?
No, some of those things are not, they are matters of law. But what we've done is, in the past, victims have complained about the very inconveniencing approaches and attitudes at the police station. And that is what motivated or influenced the establishment of the gender desk, where you now have specialized investigators who understand the emotions and the trauma these victims are going, who are able to empathize with them and connect with them at the appropriate level, ask questions that are gender sensitive, and adopt investigative approaches that are gender friendly and age sensitive. So when you are interrogating or interviewing a child victim of sexual violence, you must know how to talk to the person. You must know how to empathetically and sympathetically connect with the person so that the person can speak to you freely. So we are doing all that, and but beyond that, we will also be carrying out a lot of sensitization campaign to let Nigerians know what we expect them to do when there are incidents of rape or sexual violence, how they can protect the scene of crime, and how they can take appropriate actions so as to make our investigation processes easy. Because the scene of crime is key, and like I said the last time I was on this program, once you mess up the scene of crime, once you contaminate the scene of crime beyond redemption, the investigation will almost fail or collapse.
All right, Frank, I think we'll return to you so that you'll go over the advisory you gave on that occasion while you were here. Once there's a rape incident, what the victim should do and what the families of the victims should also do. But we have a number of tweets that have come in from our viewers, quite a lot of them. Let's quickly go through those tweets now and then return to our guest. P.A. Oyebanji tweets, it's good to talk about rape and how to punish the offenders, but what are the root causes of rape in our society? Now, rape may never stop irrespective of capital punishment unless the causes are addressed. Just like robbery, something is fundamentally wrong in our value system.
Right. Dele Jack Solomon tweets, please ask your revered guest to explain the correlation between coronavirus lockdown and the surge in rape and domestic violence cases. Nigerians need to know. Meanwhile, I would like to encourage all men to be their sisters' keepers, and all ladies should learn how to... I don't know. But let me read. Dele Jackson says, all ladies should learn how to dress decently when in public. What about the children? What about the infant? Dele?
That's right. That's a very pertinent question. I mean, we keep hearing, we keep precisely. That's what the Honorable Minister is saying now. There are ladies who are dressed in hijab and yet who get sexually assaulted. I think that is it's a hackneyed excuse, and it's no excuse for sexual violence.
Take your eyes away if you don't want to see
we have other tweets. Innocent Yawa James. The upsurge in rape cases is largely due to very weak institutions. Protection from this ugly and vicious crime is prevention and response. Girl child education is key to putting an end to it.
Adejumo Paul Lubumi tweets, we can beat back the rising cases of rape by ensuring prosecution, I beg your pardon, of rapists and modifying our laws to make the punishment for rape very severe. Imagine a rapist of minors getting a 3-year jail term and an option of fine. That's very bad, he says. I think rapists should be jailed for life.
Among Balahon Babs, it says rape cases are a reflection of the rot in our family life. We all know that the family is the bedrock of society. Once that system is faulty, the very nucleus of society is shaky. Broken homes breed poor children with no parental upbringing. Let's work on the family system.
Motana Farouk, the story of Tamara is very emotional and sympathetic. Tears could not hold itself when she was narrating her story. I commend her courage for speaking out, and this will encourage many victims who are in trauma to get relief.
Mike Anyakwo, the recent rape cases in Nigeria require draconian punitive measures against offenders. We must put a final stop to this menace. Otherwise, there will be a lot of copycats who will spring up.
All right, Comrade Hamad tweets, really, the cases of rape is one of the social issues deviling our society and keeps traumatizing a significant number of people. The only solution to this problem is that the perpetrators should be severely sanctioned so that others would not emulate them.
Law Alpha say rape is evil and unhealthy in any crime. In all situations, there's no justification for rape. A special court for rape should be established and life imprisonment will just be okay.
All right, Adamo Estefanos tweets, rape is malevolent and insensitive act. Some people are behaving like animals just because of their selfishness and worldly quests by raping even small children. The culprits deserve to be penalized.
Chris Simeon, we are looking for a way to put an end to COVID-19 pandemic and other infectious diseases, and then rape jumps in. This is very worrisome.
All right, and Titus Monday, I just read out his recommendation. He said we should be looking at castration, and once one or two people are punished, other people will know that government is serious.
That's Chris Simeon, and we already took those ones, Chris Simeon, Festus Akimboyewa. Let me go to Wangugu Silvanos. Now, it's unfortunate for such a dirty, disgraceful, and dehumanizing act as rape to become the order of the day in recent times. Now, how did we get here? If in all ages the relationship of man and woman had been for a man to go after a woman he loves.
Okay, Ibrahim Abdul Salam Bello, I'm just taking your recommendations now. He said, leaving one to, okay, what, well, he's just making the same, comments that everyone has said. So, Ibrahim Bello, thank you. Comrade Ngala, the rape cases may have become so serious in our society. Any rapist should be sentenced to death.
We have Osman Bane Kanto says the factors responsible for rape can be attributed to moral decadence in society, evil and complete disregard of the scriptures, and weak penalties for offenders. And the possible remedies are enforcement of tough sanctions and death sentence.
Okay, are you done, Kingsley?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Cecilia Okoroma tweets, great girl, Tamara. It's only an animal that would have done that. The woman who gives away her daughter of 10 or 16 years to a 60 or 70-year-old is equally as guilty. It's same as Tamara. A man or and or a woman who does not have sexual urge control is an animal.
Jumai Tabak, Honorable Minister, is a godly woman and a mother. I empathize with her. I've seen and heard her talk passionately about rape. I'm also crying with the crew. The story of Tamara is so sad. May God heal all victims of rape.
You see, I'm really concerned about people who link indecent dressing. It's not the core. We've seen, again, we must emphasize this. We've seen ladies in hijab. Yes. We've seen children 3 months, 2 months. Yes. So how would you describe that? Fathers. So it goes, fathers raping their own children. It goes beyond the way we are dressed. It has to do with, anyway. This one says,
there's no point making an argument that you are dressed the way you dress. It's no excuse. In any case, that's why we have a number of tweets, and the guests have also indicated that there is need for law enforcement to be much stricter and swifter.
Yes.
And the penalties, without mercy, without option.
Yes, okay, let me quickly take this, Kingsley. Imran, the story of Tamara is very touching. I also want to remind us that about 70% happened within family, and that's the ones we don't even get to know precisely. Uncles, cousins, sometimes even fathers raping their own daughters. It's a disease.
Mara O, so emotional to this program. All the women in the studio are crying. Rape is bad. It's not just all the women. I mean, Frank Umbad, who was a deputy commissioner of police and has been an investigator in some of these issues. And myself, I'm a father, I have daughters. And I can't, just contemplate what I've been hearing with regard to what has happened to Tamara and indeed several other unreported cases. We know that we have an epidemic of sexual offenses in Nigeria, and in particular rape. And we have seen reports where we are reading the newspapers this morning and reviewing, persons are raped and then murdered. So how do you explain that? If you are a parent, you simply just allow the life of your daughter to be so easily wasted, unlawfully too. All right, these are the tweets that we can accommodate in the meantime. I recall this in the late 80s. In the late 80s in southern Africa, when you were having an uptick in HIV and AIDS cases, it just became part of the of the craze, if you like, amongst persons who were ill educated, that if they slept with a child, then they would immediately be cured of HIV and AIDS. In Southern Africa, it was quite common at the time. And of course, I'm sure you all know that South Africa continues to post very high numbers in terms of rape incidents. But back to Esther Uzoma. Now, the Honorable Minister was talking about drilling down to the community level as part of the platform for arresting these cases, whether advocacy or reporting, and then dealing with these issues. How effective do you think that would be? Or better still, how might we exploit, if I say we, I'm talking about society, the government institutions, law enforcement institutions, exploit very rapidly the foundation of the grassroots to be sure that this problem is brought under significant control?
Wow. You see, the grassroots is a very key area. Because there are traditions that actually, in some cultures, rape is like the preliminary to marriage. If you see the woman, in some of the studies I have done, if you see a woman you want to marry, chase her down on her way to stream. Once you catch her and rape her, she's yours. You see. So, definitely. And there are also some cultures that actually concede the hymen to the father. And so you find when you come to such societies, they'll say this is not what we do. But because society is evolving and law have provided the standard to guide our behavior, you are not at liberty to do what you want. You must, comply with the standards provided by the law. But the grassroots, there are several gatekeepers. Unfortunately, most of the gatekeepers at the grassroots level are men. And sometimes they're also the beneficiaries
of this evil practice. Another thing I want to talk about really is that the way sometimes we groom our boys, their personality is tied to their penis. And so you find as they are growing up, they become victims of drug peddlers. People who want to say, you're either advertising elongate, enlarge, enhance, your masculine appendage. And so you see a budding youth. He is consumed. Everything about him is about his sexuality. Everything about him. And so if he takes one drug today, he will want to see how many women he can conquer. Women become things of conquest. I'm talking about socialization now. And these drugs, I've always said it, they're easy to buy. Any filling station, garden, you buy easily. And they're exposed to young children, young minds. And so you find, instead of our young minds thinking about how to take us to the moon, how to take us, all right, they are consumed with sexuality. Not about science. Sex from morning to night. So something we should also beam light on this aspect, and then it also bring some healing.
Okay, in terms of advocacy, I think
Yes.
I wanted to say, Honorable Minister, it means you have a lot of work to do. But looking at the ingredients of advocacy, I think that's part of what Esther was just talking about. You would like to contribute to that, Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much, Esther, for that beautiful contribution. And thank you very much, Frank, for your very important contributions you made, which I want to touch on the issue of girls hawking. We have to make laws to ban hawking. But before we do that, what led to the mothers to send these children hawking? Poverty. If you check most of these girls, the minors, going out to hawk, maybe the tray, the whole thing, is not up to 5,000, maybe 2,000. Granuts, bread, oranges.
We just have less than 2 minutes.
That is one. Esther, so we will deal with that, but women must be empowered if we want to address this matter. I mean, they send these girls to hawk because they need to survive. They need to feed. They need to eat. Advocacy is very, very important. What Esther said is very, very apt. The society must all join hands with us. We must deal with these issues. That's why the Ministry of Health is involved. Education is involved. Education of the girl child is key. The societal problems that drugs are being sold openly and everywhere. And these people, these boys, young boys, take it and try to test themselves on young girls.
Just a quick one, before I bring in Tamara, because the Governors Forum, the First Ladies have been able to get the buy-in of the Governors Forum,
yes,
and they have declared a state of emergency. What should accompany that state of emergency? What kind of actions? Yes.
Of course, dealing with the culprits and all pending cases. We have more than, the list in every state is about 120 cases that are swept under the carpet. All cases of rapes that are pending must be treated with dispatch.
Okay, let me pause here.
When that is done, then we know that the action is on.
Okay.
But I know they are committed, and I'm happy the police are committed.
Okay. Tamara, one of the issues why people or victims don't come up is stigmatization. So far, you are one of the courageous, few that have broken the silence. What are the feelings you are getting from, your colleagues, people around you? Just share with us briefly in less than 60 seconds.
Well, I've conquered stigma long ago, right from my secondary school days. But since I came out to speak about this, I've gotten a lot of support. My colleagues, even that very day, My mom called me. She was crying on the phone, telling me, so you still have this in your mind? I said, Mommy, what else would I do? I've conquered a stigma. I still got lots of messages from people on my Facebook page narrating their own experiences to me, but unfortunately, they can't come out to speak the way I am talking about it today. But the issue about me now is psychological, because I'm over 30 and it's really difficult for me to maintain a relationship, because each time I think sex, I think pain. It is so bad that even in relationships and we want to get intimate, it's almost impossible. I need to maybe take a little of alcohol to get my mind off it before anything can be done. I've been in relationships where, because I cannot satisfy sexual urge, the man has to walk away and look for another partner. I've endured relationship violence because I want to have a stable relationship and move on with my life. So psychologically, I'm still trying to find a balance, but I hope I get out of it soon.
You will get out of it.
Yeah, Tamara, Ebewe, we would like to thank you for being our guests on Good Morning Nigeria today. Of course, you are a staff of the Nigerian Television Authority. You can go with the assurance that our viewers in the country and elsewhere in the world, and those who will access this on YouTube, will definitely, of course, be with you in spirit. They'll encourage you. I will also continue to encourage you, as indeed others. Quite certainly, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs is here. You are, a prime candidate for advocacy on these issues. Take it this way: you are healed, and I think that you have overcome. You have defeated your violator, and may the Almighty be with you. Honorable Minister, very quickly to her.
Thank you very much. Tamara, you are healed in Jesus' name. And I want to assure you, I recall your face. She was among the female sports team that came for solidarity. I received them in my office yesterday. Tamara, I would like to see you. We will work with you. We will support you. You are a champion. And we will move out for the advocacy with you.
All right, Honorable Minister.
I just wanted,
we don't have time.
DCP Franco, but we don't have time. The advisory on what to do in the event of a rape. Victim and families. Bulletize the point.
Okay, very quickly, like we all know, the scene of crime is very important. Once it's contaminated, everything is gone. So our advice will depend. Okay, our advice, one, if you are a victim of rape, please, there's a high temptation for you to want to discard everything that will remind you of the rape. It's natural. But we urge you to tread carefully. Don't take your bath. It's also difficult not to take your bath after being raped because you want to wash up immediately. But we appeal to you, it's important you don't take your bath. It is either you go straight to the police station and with the police investigators straight to the hospital. But even if the hospital is closer to you, you can even go straight to the hospital. But make sure you report to them that you've been raped so that they can collate the appropriate evidence. Number two, wherever the scene of the rape, please don't alter the arrangement there. Don't make the bed, don't discard the condoms, don't do anything. Just preserve all the evidence for the investigators.
DCP Franco, this is a subject matter I will have to return to at some point. We'd like to appreciate you. First Public Relations Officer, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talent, legal practitioner, Esther Uzoma, always a delight having you on Good Morning Nigeria today, even though, of course, all of us were whipping either outwardly or inwardly. And Tamara, Bewe, a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you very much for your insights. On that note, we come to the end of Good Morning Nigeria for today and for the week. Stay safe and be well. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Kingsley Osagolo.
Of course, you can access this edition on YouTube. I am Claire Dela Babulo. Bye-bye.